מחפשים כיוון עם אלי לוי ומיכל כספי.
אלי, הבטחת מרואיין בינלאומי היום והנה הבאת.
נכון, אני הבטחתי להביא את אדם קוטס והוא נמצא איתנו פה.
אני הייתי קצת סקפטית כשאמרת, אני אביא אותו, כי זה מדובר פה במרואיין מכובד ביותר.
כן, good evening Adam, how are you? I will present you to the listeners. Adam Coates, to those who doesn't know, who is an award winner of branding at the cannabis industry, and most importantly, he executive of the Quest brand. It's a new brand that came here to Israel, right? And it's centered in I think it's marketing by Breath of Life, right? And it brings with it a new line of quality products, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But first of all, let me ask you, Adam, how are you? How's your visit here in Israel? How did you get impressed by our industry?
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here. And I love Israel. This is my third time here this year in the last 4 or 5 months. And I have definitely fallen in love with this country and the people here, and of course the food, and just absolutely loving the cannabis community that is here as well.
אדם אוהב את קהילת הקנאביס בישראל, ואלי, בוא נציג אותו רק למאזינים שלא יצליחו. הוא הביא ברנד חדש של קנאביס לארץ, נכון?
נכון.
קווסט.
זה מותג שנקרא קווסט. אדם הוא זכה גם בפרס בינלאומי עבור המותג, ובכלל הוא מוביל את כל הנושא של המיתוג למוצרי בוטיק. וזה מעניין כי here in Israel, Adam, you know, a lot of time they're talking about the we're talking here about the quality. There's different kinds of quality. We started with only one quality, and then suddenly people started to talk about craft and about boutique and stuff like that, and we didn't really get to meet those kind of products. But now you're saying that you have next to the nice branding, which is amazing that you got an award for it, you have a unique product. So what is the product that stands behind the branding?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's important to note just the evolution of different cannabis markets. So not dissimilar in Canada, when we first started out as a medical-only system and now fully legalized recreationally, there were not many options in terms of different brands or different strains of cannabis, and also there weren't really a lot of different quality levels. It was kind of only one level of quality. What we did at Quest is we help introduce Canada to craft cannabis, and I really see a lot of parallels between Canada and Israel in terms of the early days of the cannabis journey
when
that
just started. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're really excited to bring, craft cannabis to Israel and the medical patients here who consume cannabis as medicine. And, we're just really excited to kind of bring that level of quality and introduce cannabis consumers here to what craft cannabis is all about, and hopefully that inspires more to kind of grow under this methodology and provide this level of quality to patients here in Israel.
Amazing, we really need it. אז אדם מספר לנו שבעצם הכניסה של המוצרים האלה באיכות הגבוהה, מבחינתם זה מהווה, הם מקווים שזה יהווה באמת איזשהו אור לעוד חברות להיכנס ולהעלות את האיכות. מסתבר שגם בקנדה הם עברו תהליך דומה, שהתחילו בלבל אחד, ולאט לאט הם הצליחו להציג איכות קצת יותר גבוהה. מה זה? What is craft? Can you explain it to us, to us Israel who doesn't really understand? Because
מה זה כן? מה זה craft?
What is craft?
Craft cannabis.
For sure, and that's a great question. To me, craft is about, first, the people. You need to start with really passionate, really knowledgeable people who really care about the plant and about the customers who are going to be buying what they produce. So that's step number one. But then for me, there's a lot of different steps in the process that a cultivator or producer needs to follow in order for it to be considered craft. So first off is, how much are you growing? What's your volume? So cannabis is a plant that is best made when grown in small batches. So small batches in small growing rooms. You can make and grow craft cannabis in greenhouses, but it's very difficult. So what we do at Quest is we grow only in indoor facilities, so totally indoor, totally controlled with temperature, humidity, and all the environmental controls. And then once you're growing the actual plant itself, and once it's been grown, it's how do you process it into a final product. So the drying process, always hang drying, never rack drying. You're cutting the plant off at the stalk, flipping it upside down, and slow drying it, getting into the cure, and then once it's done curing and drying, then you're getting into the trimming. So always hand trimmed, never using machines or barrel trimmers. The only machines that touch our product are scissors and the trucks and planes that get it over the ocean over here. So
הוא מתאר פה מוצר שמטפלים בו כמו
שצריך, כמו
בספה הכי
בתרופה.
יוקרתי בעולם.
כמו שצריך,
נכון?
לפי חוק, מה שמשרד הבריאות בעצם דורש ומנסה לעשות, זה להעביר את הקנאביס מגידול שהוא, ממוצר שהוא כמו, שגודל בשדות, למוצר שהוא ברמה של תרופה.
ברמה, באינדור, בחדר סטרילי לגמרי, והוא גם מספר, אני רק אגיד למי שפספס את זה, הוא מספר איך הם מטפלים בקנאביס, שהוא ממש מטפלים בו כמו בתינוק, ואז גם איך אני אגיד, כותפים אותו, קוצרים אותו, ומייבשים אותו רק כשהוא תלוי, הפוך ואף פעם לא על משהו, ולעולם לא חותכים את הקנאביס עם שום מכשור, אלא רק עם מספריים, והוא אומר שהמכשירים היחידים שנוגעים בקנאביס שלהם, זה המספריים, והמטוסים שמטיסים אותם ממקום למקום.
נכון, וכמובן שמדובר בקראפט, מדובר בכמויות גידול קטנות, אנחנו לא מחפשים להגיע לכמות, אנחנו מחפשים להגיע לאיכות, ומדובר כמובן בסביבה של אינדור, זה מדהים. I'm wondering to ask you, you've seen, I guess you said you've been here a few times and you've seen the differences between the brands in Israel, the way we, it's your that's what you do for a living. So I bet you looked at the boxes, you looked about, what do you think about the branding in Israel? Because I think we have different kind of restricts from the government that might probably be a problem. Would you be able to do the same thing here in Israel, the same branding like you did there?
Actually, no. You're actually able to do more in Israel on the packaging than we are allowed to in Canada. So in Canada, it can only be one color. You can only have one brand element, and then you've got a big, large stop sign that says THC, and then a big yellow warning label, and then you have to provide the cannabinoid information. Whereas here we're able to communicate a little bit more about the product. So the colors and everything need to fall in line with regulations. You're able to use a little bit more. But what I get most excited about, especially when it comes to craft cannabis, is being able to talk about the processes that we take on the plant. So that it is small batch, that it is hand trimmed, that we do hang dry it, and that we're only putting the top cuts into our jars. So you're actually able to communicate a little bit more about the product, which I think is really important for the end consumer to understand what they're consuming. And I think that's just so critical. And so we're actually able to do a little bit more here on the packaging than we would otherwise in Canada. And it's great to be able to talk more about the process and about the product on the packaging, for that end consumer.
And for those all other marketing managers in Israel that listening, probably wanted to hear some tips from you. What is branding other than colors and other than bringing? What else can branding bring with the product? Because we all know you need a good product because it all begins with the product.
Absolutely,
you can brand a bad product well. In cannabis, I don't know about other industries, but in cannabis it's different. Sure. What other things you do for branding?
Well, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of restrictions on the marketing of cannabis in Israel, right? There's a little bit more you can do on the packaging, but you can't have advertisements and you can't put, TV advertisements or traditional things for a consumer packaged good. And so, as you said, it starts with the product, and you need
Can you advertise on TV?
No, you can't. So there's not a lot of ways to communicate your brand message. And what we do at Quest is our brand message is about the product. It's about the genetics and it's about the quality. And so that, in cannabis is the most important thing is having a high quality product and understand what the end consumer is looking for. So you can have the fanciest branding and, spend a whole bunch of money doing it, but if your product's no good and it's not created well and it's not created consistently, then you really aren't going to have a strong brand. And so that's where Quest started as well, was on the product itself.
בסדר, אוקיי, אז אני רק רוצה לתרגם לכל התמה הזה. בעצם מה שאדם אומר, ושזה בעצם מיכל גם המוטו שלנו, זה פה בישראל, פה בתוכנית שלנו, מיכל. כן, שזה לא מספיק, אתם יכולים להביא את הצבעים הכי יפים, ואתם יכולים לעשות את הקופסה הכי יפה, ואתם יכולים אפילו לצייר את זה יפה, אבל בסופו של דבר אתם חייבים שיהיה לכם מוצר איכותי מאחורי המיתוג הזה, וזה דבר מאוד מאוד חשוב. ואני חושב, I'm thinking Adam about, I tried some of the products that you guys brought here to Israel, and I really felt the difference. It came with the smells, it came with the tastes, with nice tastes, and I was really impressed by it. And I realized when I spoke to one of the representatives of the company that markets your branding, I understand that it's not about the brand. So Adam, I understand that some of the that I tried your products, and I understand that it's not about the genetics with your product. It's all about giving the care for keeping all the terpenes and making sure that the person that buys the product gets quality products, which would have all the phenotypes that would help extra delivery for the medicine, right?
Yeah, I think the genetics are really important. The general rule of thumb when it comes to cannabis is gold in, gold out, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't start with something very high quality in terms of a really good, strong genetic, and sort of the right processes all the way through, you're not going to end up with a great end product. So the genetics are really important, not just the names of them, but also the quality and where they're sourced from. There's something called genetic drift, where you can get a genetic that sounds really good and is really popular, but if it's a whole bunch of steps removed or clones away from the original mother, it has that genetic drift where it's really kind of going to end up something different. But to your point, what is so important, about when you have a good genetic, and that's one of the things that we bring to the table is really a lot of genetics and a lot of choice and a lot of flavors and aromas, is about how you care for the plant. And so, you can have the best grow facility in the world, but if you don't treat the plant right after it's been grown, like hang drying, like curing it properly in like stainless steel sea vaults versus plastic, which is what we do, which is really important. Trimming it by hand, not overhandling the product, taking care when you're packing it. So we do everything by hand, like literally everything: pruning, watering, trimming, packing our jars.
Wow.
כל הטיפול בקנאביס שלהם הוא
נעשה בידיים, כמו שאת אמרת, כמו במכון ספא.
כמו שכן.
I put some of your weed under the microscope. I have to say, you can see the result of what you're doing because you see full trichomes, very long and very big, and it was very nice to see it, and even to smoke it was very nice. So what else is waiting for us here in Israel, Adam? What other things you're going to bring here? New products? For
sure. And one of the things that we do at Decible and Quest with our Quest brand is we bring new strains all the time.
Okay.
So what you can expect is consistent supply of small batches. And so always trying to keep the product as fresh as possible. It's very challenging. Cannabis is very temperamental when you're flying it across the world and all the steps that you have to go through. So trying to bring shipments more frequently to keep product fresher.
How do you keep it fresher?
By limiting the time between harvest and getting it into the jar, into the pharmacy.
Between the harvest and when?
It can really depend. So in terms of the steps of the process, once the plant is harvested, it's about 7 to 10 days of drying, about 2 to 3 weeks of curing, and then you've got trimming, packaging, and then sending it over. So you're looking at least 6 to 8 weeks. Between, and we strive to kind of keep it in that range. It's not always going to be that. Sometimes it can stretch to 10 weeks or 12 weeks, but keeping it fresh. But
exactly. It's all about how you keep it on the process, right?
Exactly.
מה שאדם אומר, זה שבעצם הם מנסים, כדי שהמוצר יהיה באיכות הכי טובה שלו, להביא לבתי המרקחת את המוצר הכי טרי שיש, וכל זה נעשה בזמן הכי קצר, כמה שיותר קצר מהרגע שקוצרים אותו בעצם, ועד הרגע שהוא מגיע למחירה בבית מרקחת.
אז בעצם התשובה שלו זה שאנחנו נקבל עכשיו, מצפים לקבל הרבה מוצרים, מלא טעימות של מוצרים טובים.
כנראה.
מלא טעימות. We're going to get a lot of taste of good products, and we're going to be fast to, if you want to get those products, you have to run to the pharmacy and get it really quick, because there's not much of it, because it's all about quality.
הוא אומר שבין 6 ל8 שבועות מהרגע שאפשר לקטוף את הצמח, ועד הרגע שהוא יכול למחר בבית מרקחת.
Yeah, and then bringing new cultivars as well. So always having something new. So every time we bring a shipment, we'll have some new cultivars to try.
בכל משלוח יש להם זנים חדשים.
מדהים. And don't you think we need to start here in Israel to do some also some awards winning all kind of I think that it's amazing that you can bring yourself into the industry and you have something to achieve that you want, that you look up to, you want to achieve, and I think it makes the difference between a sleeping industry and a waking industry. I think this is something we need to bring to Israel, and I would love it if you could help us with that. We look up to all those guys in Canada and United States, all you guys, that you already done it, and we really need a lot of help here. So here I am, representing all the Israeli consumers and asking you to help us with that, okay? It would be amazing. It would be amazing. And we would love to have you again here on our show.
Thank you so much.
And to hear more about your branding. And we really appreciate you coming here to our studio.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Amazing.
Adam
Thank
Coates,
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Adam Coates, מותג קווסט, נכון?
מותג קווסט. מותג איכותי ביותר. תקשיב, אלי, אני אף פעם, אתה מכיר יותר ממני, וראית איך מגדלים, וראית איך כותבים, וראית איך גורמים לדבר הנפלא הזה להגיע לבתי מרקחת. מה את מנסה להגיד, שעוד לא לקחתי אותך א', כן, אבל מה שהוא מתאר פה, אני ממש, בזמן שהוא תיאר את זה, ממש דמיינתי בראש, אנשים כאלה עם חלוקים לבנים בתוך מעבדה, כותבים אחד-אחד את הפרחים בידיים.
זה קראפט.
זה מדהים.
זה קראפט, בעצם המטרה בקראפט, אדם, you still here with us in the studio, so I'm going to ask you, אני רוצה לשאול את אדם עוד שאלה אחרונה, כי יש לי ממש חצי דקה.
נכון.
Is there any levels in craft? I mean, can craft come in different levels? Or if it's craft, it's craft. It's already saying we're top level.
I think like anything, I think if you're following the craft process, you can claim that you're craft, but just like everything, some people and some companies are better than others at it. And so there's naturally levels, but the craft piece, to be considered craft, you have to do single strain, small batch grow rooms, you have to hang dry, you have to hand trim, and you have to do everything more or less by hand.
אז לפני שאנשים מתחילים לחשוב איך הם קוראים מהיום לזן שלהם קראפט, אנחנו נגיד שאדם מסביר שכדי להיקרא קראפט, כל אחד יכול לקרוא לעצמו, אבל זה לא באמת קראפט, כדי להיקרא קראפט צריך לגדל כמויות קטנות בכל חדר, לטפל בידיים, לקטוף עם הידיים, לגזור עם הידיים ולארוז עם הידיים.
כמו שאמרת, ספא.
הכל בידיים, לא מכונות.
איזה כיף, כבר עוד תוכנית נגמרה לנו, וזה עבר כל כך מהר. אני אומר כיף, כי אני הולך עוד מעט לישון, פשוט. לא, היה ממש...
חשבתי שאתה שמח להיפטר ממני.
לא, היה ממש כיף, היה ממש כיף. אני מת על המפגשים שלנו, אני מת עליהם, עוד מעט אנחנו הולכים לחווה ביחד. זה נאמר פה, ואז אני חייב לקיים. כן.
אתה מבין, אחר כך אני יכולה לבוא ואני אגיד, אבל אלי, זה מוקלט. הבטחת לי.
אז אם אתם זקוקים לשירותי רפואת קנאביס ו/או רפואה משלימה לטיפול למטופלי קנאביס, אתם מוזמנים לפנות לכוכבי 9430, עמותת מעלה, שעובדת בשיתוף פעולה עם מרפאות ליווי חיים בטוב, וכמובן, אם אתם מעוניינים לשמוע לכל הקטעים
לשמוע קטעים, לשאול אותנו שאלות, לדבר איתנו על, אולי אתם גם מייצרים זני קראפט, ואתם רוצים להכיר לנו אותם. אז אתם מוזמנים לעשות את זה במייל שלנו, 102fm@meale.org.
יס.
אלי, נגיד תודה לכל מי שהיה איתנו היום.
תודה לכל מי שהיה איתנו היום.
תודה רבה לקרולינה. ביי.
סליחה על כל הברדק שאני עושה לכם באולפן.
אתה כל הזמן עושה בלגן.
אני כל הזמן מפיל דברים.
תודה לליאור חן, העורכת והמפיקה שלנו. תודה רבה לך, אלי, שעוד מעט הולך לישון.
תודה לך מיכל ולקרולינה, המהממת שלנו.
אבקש שהסיור שלנו בחווה יהיה באחת החוות. אם אפשר לנסוע לקנדה, לבקר אצל אדם.
יאללה, בואי נעשה את זה פעם אחת. את כל פעם אומרת, יאללה, ניסע לפה, ניסע לשם. כבר ראיתי איתך בכל העולם בדמיון.
ממש.
באמת, בדמיון היינו בלונדון, בקנדה, בארצות הברית, איפה לא היינו? לילה טוב, חברים.
לא, היינו בשום מקום.